want to go before the Lord. The Lord is the one that will really get our hearts stirred. Amen? He is the one that we look to in his leadership as he empowers all of us. I just want to read a quick passage for you from the scriptures. This is a letter Paul wrote to Timothy. He wrote these words, "Therefore I exhort, first of all, that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and for all who are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and reverence. For this is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior, who desires all men to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth." Shall we pray? Father, thank you for the privilege, the blessing, the opportunities that you provide us. We're very excited about tonight. We're excited about Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeachin and the things that she'll be sharing with us today, as well as the others that will be offering words of encouragement. But Lord, first and foremost, we want you to be honored in this place. We are a people who love you. We honor you today, and we ask, Lord, that you would allow us to be a blessing to you. We do not ask that you bless our plans. We ask that we would walk in harmony with your plans, that we would walk in surrender and submission to you, and that we would do the things that you have called us to. For we ask these things today in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Sheriff Bob Norris will come and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, sir.
How are we doing, Kootenai County?
Let's pledge this great country of ours. We have a flag in the background, flag over there to your left. Remove your hats, hand over heart, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Welcome to Kootenai County, the hottest real estate market in the United States. My goodness, who would have thought? Welcome to Kootenai County, one of the fastest growing counties in the United States of America. My goodness, who would have thought? Little old Kootenai County. You know, over the course of time, I've had many conversations with Janice, and it's hard for me to see with you right here with this, but over the course of time, I've had many conversations with Janice, and she wanted to ask some questions of me over time. And I don't know if it was because I came from a state down south, like many of you here in this room, but she said, you know, can you tell me what your thoughts are on red flag laws? And I said, I sure can. I said, I don't believe in any red flag laws. Red flag laws criminalize the law-abiding citizen and decriminalize the bad guy. That's where I stand on it. Period. And it's not open for negotiation. She said, well, you know, a lot of people will say things when they're running for office, but then when they get into office, sometimes they don't say what they said when they're running for office. I said, well, contraire, because on March the 15th, in an open meeting, I said that there will be no gun confiscation in Kootenai County. It's on YouTube, period. I don't care what they do in DC. I don't care what they do anywhere. Absolutely not. She also said, hey, there's a couple of things that are happening in this country that it's horrible. And she alluded to some of the things that law enforcement has been done and doing to people that she deemed, as I deem, against our constitutional rights. Law-abiding citizens not doing anything being forced to do things without any probable cause whatsoever. And if you recall, there was a woman that was watching her son play football in an open stadium, and law enforcement officers came over there and tased her and did some horrible things. You know, I lived in a community that we didn't have that strong relationship at some times. And when that relationship was compromised, we could not get a jury to convict people for serious crimes, even if we had them on video and a confession. We will never, ever, on the Cooney County Sheriff's Office, never compromise the trust between the public and law enforcement, period. And I said that on my first day in office by a press release that said the Cooney County Sheriff's Office will not enforce unenforceable law or executive mandates on its citizens. Day one. And in that same press release, I said the Cooney County Sheriff's Office will never interfere in religious gatherings, period. Thank you. So, then I had some questions for her. And I said, well, do you support the men and women of law enforcement? And absolutely she does. She rattled off many, many incidents where she supports them. And when I Google her name with law enforcement, you see her at Back the Blue events frequently. So yes, she does. And thank you for that. I also asked her, do you believe that a law enforcement agency such as the Cooney County Sheriff's Office should grow commensurate to meet the needs of the growing community? And absolutely. So we need governors, lieutenant governors, commissioners, just like you. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here.
Good evening. I'm Leslie Duncan, a current sitting county commissioner. Thank you. I had the pleasure of meeting Janice a couple years ago on the campaign trail. Every time she would come up, we'd end up at the same events. It was probably only once or twice that we really, shook hands and looked eye to eye. Well, in June of 2018, after the primary, we were both in the state Idaho GOP convention down in southern Boise, and I saw her walking in the auditorium, and I just said, congratulations, I'm so happy for you. And she looked me right in the eye and she said, how did your race go? She remembered me. She knew who I was. And people won't remember how pretty you were, how talented you were, but they'll remember how you made them feel. So Janice believes that everyone is essential. Nobody should be told that they are non-essential no matter what their occupation is. Janice believes in the proper role of government. It's not to manage our lives, but it's to protect our freedoms. Janice believes in standing in the gap for our citizens, protecting their liberties and being a sovereign state. So I believe in Janice, and that's the kind of leader that I want. That's the kind of elected official that I want to serve.
It's a pleasure to be here and to be talking to you because I'm not an Idahoan, I'm a Nevadan. And one of my best friends and one of the people I love more than anybody in the world is Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeachin. And she's asked me to come up here because of my relationships and some of my past history as it kind of wraps around the Trump campaign and some of the Trump activities that we're all involved with right now. So forgive me for being one of the assailants from across the border headed to your beautiful state. I'm a Nevadan. I'm a Nevadan through and through. And I'm the I'm the chairman, finance chairman for the Nevada State Republican organization down there, our party down there in the state of Nevada. So we're kind of involved in politics down there. And, yeah. Oh, no, that's a secret. You had to ask. My name is Don Ahern, and I own a company called Ahern Rentals. It's an equipment rental company. Oh, thank you. Few of you know about it. We have 125 locations across the United States, and we employ, and then there's 17 outside the country and some manufacturing. We employ about 4,000 people now. And I got involved in the state of Idaho up here, and through some friends and so forth, I got to know Janice, and she knew I was in politics, and we invited her and some others when we did the Trump rally down in Las Vegas. Now, you probably don't know, but a lot of you may know that in some of these blue states like Nevada, you know, the governors are really hard to get along with, and here comes President Trump in his big blue 747 called Air Force One, and according to the governor, he can't land in Nevada. He can't even talk in Nevada. Talk about free speech, right? So, anyhow, we kind of worked on trying to get him into one of the hotels so he could give a good speech, and the governor has control over the gaming control board, so, you know, the hotels turned him down, the airports turned him down, everybody turned him down. It was the most disgraceful way to treat the greatest president that the United States had ever had. So, one of the businesses that we are in, it's a FBO business, kind of a jet charter operation, all that kind of stuff. So we have this airport up in Minden, Nevada. And Minden, Nevada, Gardnerville, and that's also where my wife and I have our second home. And then we had a big manufacturing facility down in Henderson, Nevada, which is a subpart to Las Vegas. And we offered that up kind of at the last minute and gave the President Trump a place to land. And I'll tell you what, it was one couple of the best, greatest rallies we've ever seen in our lives. We had people from California driving across to go to the Minden Tahoe Airport over there where we're located. We had 27,500 people, and they were still coming down the highways, you know, to see him. And then we figured we could get 5,000 people in our factory there in Henderson, and we ended up with 12,500 people. They were all over the streets. It was a mess, but man, were we having fun, and was everybody happy, you know? And so, that's the good news. The bad news is I got a governor that hates me. I got OSHA all over me. I got the city of Las Vegas. I got the city of Henderson. I got fines galore and all these things. So we turned around and countersued him, and I said,
I love you, Don.
Oh, well, thank you, my friend. I love you too, but I'm married, okay? Thank you, Brad.
We got space in Idaho for your business.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, we're coming to Coeur d'Alene, hopefully maybe this year. But we're already down in Idaho Falls, and we're already down in Boise. So we're headed this way. Hey, we got the same stuff in Nevada, just so you know. We were thinking about putting a line across there ourselves, but I'm kind of a northern Nevada guy. But anyhow, I just wanted to share the story. Janice thought maybe you might enjoy hearing a little bit about Trump. And now I'm chairman of one of the Trump's programs. It's a really neat program. It's called, George. American Alliance, okay. So, this 68 years old isn't working out for me so well. But anyhow, I'm happy. I did find my Easter eggs, so I'm okay. So, Lieutenant Governor Janice is a real gem. You guys are so lucky, and Idaho is really, really, really a great, great state. I would tell you, it's the greatest state in the United States. And what even makes it even better is Lieutenant Governor Janice. And she needs our support, and I think she's got a bright, bright future all the way up. She's got a great husband too. I got to know him today. He's a really good guy. You're a nice man. You know that? Janice, keep him. Okay, he's a winner. But I have a list of precepts here, and I'm not going to go through them, but these are precepts that President Trump, things he succeeded in, his wins, and things that he stood for, you stand for. But I want you to know that all of these things, like supporting the blue, supporting the unborn, things like that. I've got, securing our borders. I've got 26 of these things right here, and that's an abbreviated list of the things that President Trump has achieved. Now, we're deeply involved with these programs. President Trump currently has about at least 7, I believe, different programs. Our program, the American Alliance, is his program, but there's other ones, the Conservative Partnership Institute, and many of you probably familiar with a few of them if I mention them. But he is putting together his ground game right now. He's raising money, and we're involved, and we're going to turn Nevada red. And I'm personally here to support Lieutenant Governor Janice to make sure that she's successful in not allowing this state to go blue. Okay? She is worth fighting for. Your state is worth fighting for, and you are the bomb. And the only thing that my Heavenly Father didn't do exactly perfect, he didn't allow me to be born in Idaho. I was born right downtown Las Vegas, if you can imagine that. Guy like me, born on Fremont Street. But we had a lot of fun growing up there. It was a great city, and unfortunately it's really changed. We have a governor that is just horrible. And trust me, you need to do what's right. And you're out here tonight. I'm very, very proud of every one of you. And I want to tell you that I'm going to turn over this podium to the greatest lady on earth, Lieutenant Governor McGeachin.
Wow. Can you hear me okay? Thank you so much. I am so humbled by those words of support. Pastor Paul and Brenda, thank you for hosting us this evening. Sheriff Norris, Commissioner Leslie Duncan, and Don Ahern, and my husband Jimmy. It's so good to have you be with me today on this day. Thanks. And thank you to everyone who came out. It means so much to me that you have taken time out of your day to be here and to listen. I love seeing all these American flags. Look at this. Yeah. Wave your flags high. Isn't it amazing to be an American? Earlier this year, a well-known Idaho resident by the name of Pete Colson spoke at Idaho's Capitol. One of the things he said was that the world is changed by our examples, not our opinions. It's another way of saying our actions speak louder than our words. As you well know, this past year has been quite historic. If you're like me, you've asked some serious questions about some of the actions taken by our governing officials. Perhaps you've wondered, how many businesses have we lost? Why are those businesses struggling to find employees? Why were our voting rights compromised? Why has due process been stripped away? Why were people arrested for singing? Why were our prayer vigils restricted? Why were our kids and our grandchildren, why did they lose an entire year of traditional learning? Why could we go to the liquor store, but we couldn't go to church? Except for here. Thank you. Thank you for staying open. In other words, what is happening to our state? Idahoans have witnessed egregious, serious violations over the past year. Fortunately, many of us are aware of what should have happened differently. We have all witnessed repeated rejections of opportunities to change course and to return to our constitutional Republican form of government. Alarmingly, Idaho has been drifting away from our foundational principles. Last year, our governor declared that some of your businesses and your employees were not essential. This proved to be very divisive and destructive, and it created widespread unemployment in our state. The resulting anger, which is a response to deep hurt, led to depression, and suicide rates have increased. I'm here to tell you today that every life is essential and every job is essential. God has created each of us unique in His image, and we all have a unique place in this life. In the Lieutenant Governor's office, we worked tirelessly to help hundreds of people who had gone many weeks without any unemployment benefits. I directly messaged the governor offering my assistance in rectifying the problems in the Department of Labor. He never responded to my offer of support. Over the last year, we have been tested. Many stood strong in the face of challenges. Unfortunately, some who were entrusted with positions of leadership caved to fear and compromised principles. We cannot forget the decisions that were made, the damage that was done, and the lessons we have learned from last year. That would be a failure to learn from history, and we all know where that leads. What we have seen over the past year is unacceptable. The violations of our individual rights, our state sovereignty, and our traditional conservative values are intolerable. I refuse to stand by and allow these abuses to go unchallenged. That would be a disservice to our state and a violation of my sworn oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Idaho. I can't do that. I won't do that. And that is why I am running to be your next governor of the state of Idaho. thank you so much. I'm not running for governor to be popular or because it's easy. This job is hard work, and it requires making difficult decisions that aren't always appreciated. I'm a proud Idahoan, a devout Christian, a proven and committed conservative, a devoted wife and mother, and with your support, I will be the first woman to lead Idaho as governor. Seeking this position is a solemn duty, and it is not a decision I made lightly. I have made my decision prayerfully and with wise counsel from friends, family, and trusted advisors. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at a pivotal moment in history, not just for Idaho, but for our nation. Everything that makes America great is under assault, and with radical leftists now controlling Congress and the White House, your governor must be on the front lines every day defending our individual rights, our state sovereignty, and our conservative traditional principles. Anything less is a dereliction of duty. I am encouraged, however, by those of you here today and others like you who have pushed back against these assaults. Throughout my tenure as Lieutenant Governor, I have seen the best of Idaho and have witnessed bravery and dedication, commitment and generosity. Idahoans are tough, resilient, and even heroic at times, yet they remain humble. Every day I am inspired by the people who call the Gem State home. So let me tell you a little bit about what brought me here today. I have lived most of my life in Idaho. I've been married to my husband Jimmy for 34 years. Our two children, Liza and James, work alongside us in our family businesses in Idaho Falls and Boise. After 10 years of service in the state legislature, I placed a term limit on myself and returned to the private sector. It was Donald Trump's campaign in 2016 that inspired me to get back into politics. His message resonated deeply with me because many of the problems that he saw happening across our country were also happening here in Idaho. Our leaders were not paying attention to our cries for accountability. Their only interest seemed to be political gain. Once again, it was time for me to take a stand, so I jumped on the Trump train and served as the first vice chair for the Trump Idaho team. I was also a delegate to the 2016 Republican National Committee. His powerful message of restoring the voice of the forgotten man and challenging a rigged system inspired conservatives across the nation to run for office, including myself. In 2018, I ran for Lieutenant Governor of Idaho. We, the people, won on the promise of draining the swamp, both with President Trump in Washington, D.C., and with Lieutenant Jan here in Idaho. I'm willing to fight for what makes America great and for what makes Idaho great. Because of this, people like me face constant attacks from the mainstream media, sometimes even from within our own ranks. You need to know that your Lieutenant Governor has been working consistently to protect your individual rights, your state sovereignty, and our traditional conservative values here in Idaho. I firmly believe in these principles, and I know that you believe in them too. So let me talk briefly about these 3 pillars of my campaign, starting with individual rights. Here in Idaho, we believe in God-given, unalienable rights. Yeah. I have consistently fought against increasing your tax burden because we don't have a tax problem here in Idaho. We have a spending problem. As a member of JFAC, I sponsored a spending limitation on local government and worked to keep spending in line with the growth of the economy. I consistently supported legislation to protect small businesses and independent practitioners. In my campaign for Lieutenant Governor, I earned an A+ rating from the NRA and an A+ endorsement from Dick Heller. Thanks. As your governor, I will continue to fight against any encroachment on our Second Amendment right, including any infringement coming from Washington, D.C. And when I become your governor, I'm going to call Sheriff Norris to help me defend against this encroachment on our Second Amendment right. Whether it was supporting your right to try natural, non-traditional health remedies, speaking out against putting healthy people under house arrest, sponsoring legislation to provide for the expungement of criminal records in certain cases, or writing letters of support to the U.S. Department of Justice on behalf of wrongfully incarcerated Idahoans. My strong belief in defending individual liberty has guided my actions. It still does today, even in a time when such old-fashioned notions have lost favor with the coastal elites. Let me also talk about state sovereignty. As an elected official, my duty to protect Idaho's state sovereignty compelled me to vote against Common Core and work to delay the encroachment of Obamacare in Idaho. That duty also pressed me to vote for responsible spending on the Coronavirus Financial Advisory Committee, CFAC, even when it meant being the only person to vote against questionable proposals. Defending our state means making difficult decisions when the federal government tries to bribe us into compliance. It means rejecting additional federal money when accepting it would mean we lose the right to manage our own Medicaid programs. It means shredding the FEMA COVID agreement, because in this agreement, Idaho is mandated to grant access to our lands. It says that we must hold the federal government harmless, and we are required to comply with unreasonable federal laws and executive orders. So, what should I do with this? After the last election, When our governor and attorney general failed to do so, your lieutenant governor, along with a number of Idaho lawmakers concerned about state sovereignty, successfully filed an amicus brief in support of every state's obligation to maintain a Republican form of government as called for in the U.S. Constitution. And we will continue to support election integrity efforts that strengthen and protect our republic. Third, let me talk about traditional conservatism, which the media and elites mock and reject. I have a long history of standing up for these values. Strong families are foundational to our value system. My 100% pro-life voting record, my defense of traditional marriage as defined in our Constitution, and my work on implementing the Women's Informed Consent Law speak to my dedication on these issues. Also, my own family proudly supports the successful workforce re-entry of formerly incarcerated Idahoans by providing them opportunities for gainful employment within our family businesses. As chair of the Regional Government Efficiency Committee, I worked to identify waste in state government. As a member of CFAC, worked to ensure state procurement laws were followed in contracts with the Department of Education, the Department of Labor, and broadband projects across the state. Remember when we were being threatened that if we didn't change our behavior, people were going to die because our hospitals were going to be overrun? Well, as a problem solver and as a member of CFAC, I authored a proposal to collaborate with the private sector to address expanded healthcare capacity during COVID-19. The proposal suggested using state-of-the-art technology and equipment that has been used across the country, including at Mayo clinics. Quite rudely, false information was leaked from the governor's office to a reporter who used the misinformation to mock the proposal. Don, you are the CEO and owner of this company with multiple presences in Idaho. And this Lieutenant Governor greatly appreciates what your company has to offer. This future governor welcomes your manufacturing presence here in Idaho. Included in traditional values is education. I do not support cronyism that costs Idaho taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. Idaho needs an education system that prepares young people to live productive lives, not one that indoctrinates Marxist, socialist ideology being proposed by the Biden administration. Children should not be taught to hate America nor to hate each other. I have assembled a task force that will soon begin assessing these issues, and I'm so grateful to have some people in this community that are willing to come serve on the committee. I have long been a strong supporter of internships, apprenticeship training, and trade schools. It's why I serve as board president of the Career Technical Education Foundation. In Idaho schools, we will teach our kids how to build, design, engineer, cook, serve, compute, barber, and work as police, firefighters, nurses, doctors, electricians, and plumbers. When people earning $12 to $15 an hour are taught a skill that enables them to earn $20 to $100 per hour, we greatly improve their opportunities. This is a win-win situation for business and the individual. The truth is, I am not that comfortable bragging about my accomplishments. I prefer focusing on the job at hand. But I want you to understand my record as a strong woman of action, someone who runs on my record and not from it. As I wrap up, know that I have a vision for a better and more prosperous Idaho. This vision is not based on fundamental transformation, as some advocate, but on protecting and enhancing our individual rights, our state sovereignty, and our traditional conservative principles that have stood the test of time. It starts with getting our financial house in order. Our country is nearly $30 trillion in debt. Inflation is rising quickly, and the position of the U.S. dollar as the world's currency reserve is at risk. We can't solve all of our nation's problems here in Idaho, but we must do our part to get our fiscal house in order, even if it means weaning ourselves off the federal teat. We must reinvigorate in traditional industries such as agriculture, grazing, mining, and timber, but also embrace innovation and increase our manufacturing. We must also consider new opportunities like increased demand for firearms and ammunition. Idaho will lead the way towards greater energy independence at the Idaho National Laboratory, our nation's premier nuclear science and technology lab, to develop renewable energy sources and hybrid energy systems. We can open more doors to success by removing occupational licenses and other regulations which stand in the way of personal and business achievement. We must work on civil justice reform and over-criminalization. With an incarceration rate that is higher than the national average, I will work with my colleagues in the legislature to repeal regressive laws and regulations that entangle hard-working Idahoans in the criminal justice system. Increasing opportunities for the people needs to be the priority in Idaho. We want Idaho to be an independent and business-friendly state that attracts talent and entrepreneurs from around the globe. Throughout the last year especially, we have witnessed the danger of one politician exercising too much power and cutting out other constitutional officers and branches of government from the decision-making process. Our republic is based on cooperation and collaboration amongst constitutional officers and the three branches of government. I will make sure we restore the proper balance of power so that our republic functions according to its design. As your governor, I will continue to be open and transparent, much like what my office maintained during our weekly Capital Clarity sessions. My door will remain unlocked and open to the public, and you will certainly not be required to wear a mask to enter my office. Simply put, the status quo has got to go. Idahoans are tired of being ignored, shut out of the process, declared non-essential, and discriminated against by the state. Lobbying groups and special interests exercise too much power and influence in Boise, and that needs to go. Cronyism will have no place in a McGeachin administration. I am running for governor to restore the principles that have made Idaho great. Our individual liberties, our state sovereignty, and traditional conservative values. My proven experience shows that I will always defend these principles, and I believe that you are here today because you choose to defend them as well. If those are the principles you want, then vote for me to be your governor. Together, we will reestablish the foundational values that make Idaho great. Visit my website, janiceforidaho.com, to donate and learn about other ways to participate in our historic campaign. May God bless America, and may God continue to bless the people of the great state of Idaho. Thank you.
I think it's appropriate that we have a closing moment of prayer. Pray for Jimmy and for Janice. I'm very excited about this. I want to be the first guy to say, I'm endorsing you for governor. Lord, we are so thankful to be in this great state, and so thankful to have representation that first and foremost looks to you. We thank you for Janice. We thank you for Jimmy, for their family. I thank you in particular, Lord, for Jimmy today, who lends his wife to all of us to lead this great state. And Lord, I pray for your blessing upon him, upon their business, upon their family. And Lord, I pray for Janice today that you would allow her to be exactly what you want from her in this state, in her family, and for her husband. And Lord, I know she loves you. I thank you for her love for you. And we bless her today in Jesus' name. Amen. 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 God bless you all.
Thank you.